Hi again, I'm back with another memory keeping altered book entry for my memory keeping book, and today I have a magazine cover from last month. This is our local town magazine, and it is featuring one of our more popular attractions. I remember it most from when I was a child because it's changed drastically in the last 25 years. It's called the Nut Tree, and as a child, I remember going there and it being a major attraction on the Interstate 80 corridor between Sacramento and San Francisco in California. And it started just as a little roadside fruit stand, ages ago, long before I ever stopped there. And then it grew to be this roadside attraction with an airport and a restaurant and a shop with, I remember, breads and cookies. They had special cookies that were frosted and decorated very fancy, and they had a toy store and a little train you could ride. That's what I have a picture of here. So here's the airport, and here's the little train, and the train would go between the airport and then back into where the shop and the toy store were. So when I saw this on the magazine stand, they're free here in town. I had to grab it because this image here, it's so iconic from the 70s, really, is when it was pretty much in its heyday, and this artist did a lot of murals and other features at the Nut Tree. And so a lot of these very 70s colors just stand out in my memory. So I thought I would cut this out and hopefully can get it in here as like a flip down is what I was thinking. And then I think I'm going to use this train image to make a pocket. And it is kind of ironic that it's on the bread page, because I remember one of my favorite things was they had a very fancy restaurant, and I've talked before about two cousins that were a big part of my life. Twice a year they would go to Tracy from Sacramento, where they lived, to some big ceramic mold company. They made ceramics, and so they would go to this big supplier who had whatever they used to make the ceramics, mud to put in the molds, and they sold new molds, and we'd have to drive down past Nut Tree, and they would always make a point to stop and get lunch at the Nut Tree, that was a very fancy dining for the day. I don't remember my parents ever really eating at that dining room, but it was just a super special thing to go with them and be able to eat in this dining room. And the thing I remember about the dining room was that it had aviaries in it, and it also had little canopies over each table, over the booths where each table was. The little tiny bread loaves that they would put out on the table for everyone to eat. The thing that I liked to order there was kind of a build your own sandwich. So you would get this little loaf of bread that was sliced, and then you would get a little butterfly that had like mayo and mustard and I don't know, some other like 4 little condiments in this butterfly. and then you would get lettuce and tomatoes and your turkey and cheese and things. And so you would build these little teeny tiny sandwiches. And as a kid, it was a novelty to be able to have this fancy stuff all come out on a plate, and it made just your average turkey sandwich something special. So now, today, the Nut Tree of today is basically just a shopping center. The old historic buildings are all pretty much gone. They tried to make a go of an amusement park there when my kids were little, and it didn't last very long. I'm not sure why. There is a historic home on the property, but it's like way behind the shopping center, and nobody really seems to go back and visit that. I don't think it's open to the public, which is kind of sad. The airport is still there. The little train no longer runs to the airport. It just runs in a circle in the middle of the shopping center. They have a carousel there now, and they had these murals that had they were like animals with the faces cut out, and you could poke your head through the holes and take pictures. They still have that there, and they have this giant giraffe, which is a nod to, they had rocking horses, and these things were like really cool rocking horses. Like you could really rock hard on them, and they're very iconic. I should find a picture to add to this of the rocking horse, because that was they're still, some of them are still there. But then they had lots of rocking horses and one rocking giraffe. Well, now there's this giant giraffe that just stands there in the park area where the train and the carousel are, and it's just a visual piece of art kind of thing. It's not something you can climb on. It's really, really high. But anyway, now it's just a bunch of retail shops and little restaurants and stuff. But it looks like your modern everyday shopping mall, except for the little train and carousel. For those of us who remember it in its glory days, it is kind of sad. It's sad, but I have great memories. And for a little while, when my husband and I were in college, they used to do, well, actually, even until the late 90s, when we had started having kids, they had these big scarecrow contests there every fall. That was always fun to go back. It felt very Nut Tree nostalgic to go, and it's actually where my husband and I were in, I want to say that was in the 80s, 89, I believe, when the big earthquake happened in the Bay Area. My husband and I were in the toy store there. And so there was still some of the original buildings back in the 80s, but by the time later in the 2000s, all those buildings were pretty much torn down except one concession stand. I want to remember that I so enjoyed those meals there, and looking in the shop and rocking on the rocking horses, and it just really was a fun place that we always look forward to stopping there on our way into the city or on those special trips with my cousins. And my parents would always stop and, let us do a train ride or get like a cookie or something from the store there. And we would look in the toy store. I don't remember ever, buying anything in the toy store. But I remember spending a lot of time on those rocking horses and playing in those little face cutouts. And I think the art that was there was a huge appeal to me too. Like it just was very beautifully designed, and I still think of things like this that scream 1970s to me. And it makes me feel nostalgic. And so I wanted to be able to write about the nut tree. And so here's my nut tree page today. I think I am going to washi tape this, maybe, so that it will flip down. And then I made a pocket here so I can put my memories in there. And then if I can find a rocking horse and a giraffe, I will try and put them on whatever I'm going to write my memories on in here. And let me stick this little tree down too. I think I should probably find something to back this as well, just because it's got an advertisement for a real estate company on the back. So I should probably do that before I stick it in the book. Let's see if this is big enough. So do you remember a place in your childhood that you remember maybe stopping in, like often enough that it was kind of a big deal, and something special? And was there something that was really visually appealing? Because that's the thing that I keep going back to, is like, it was fun to stop there, but it was also because of all the beautiful artwork that I think I just really gravitated to, liking to just walk around the place and look at things. And even those kid murals were just so unique, the ones that you put your face in. And it just really had a draw for me because of the colors, bright colors, and just the fun of the art, the memories of climbing on. They had like a little playhouse you could climb up in, and they had out at the airport, when you would ride the train out, you could get off and walk around out at the airport, and they had a little airplane that you could, it was a play one that you could climb on and pretend you were flying. And it just seems like all the details were so well thought out in the original, and it's not sticking very well, for, I think, because it's so heavy. It has tried to be reinvented a couple times. We had I don't know if, I think it was AAA baseball team. They built a big stadium, and then that didn't last long, and now the stadium's gone, and they sold the stadium and uprooted it and took it wherever they sold it. While I do appreciate that we have some stores there now, and that the land is not just sitting vacant, it just doesn't feel as special anymore. It's just kind of stores. And maybe someday when I have grandkids and I can take them for rides on the train and take them for rides on the little rocking horses, and maybe it'll feel more special again, but the memories will always be special. So I hope you have a place like that in your memory, or if you're from anywhere around California and you were here in the 70s, I'm sure you know about this iconic roadside stop. It was sort of the claim to fame for Vacaville for many years, actually. And that, and up the road in Dixon, was the milk farm. It was a dairy farm, but it had a creamery where you could stop and get ice cream, and the sign for that is still standing. And the creamery is no longer there, but the sign is still along the freeway, and it's a very well-known landmark along the I-80 corridor there. Okay. Well, there's what the back looks like now. I just used some of my printables from Etsy that I had used on my first book cover. I had printed some of those, so I don't right off the top of my head remember the Etsy seller, but I can link it in the comments below for the 1970s kind of vibe wallpapers. Let me grab some washi tape. Scoot this over just a smidge. It's in the hitting the spirals. Well, this was a short video, quick page. I thank you for coming along with me and for letting me share about my nut tree memories. I hope you'll share your story about someplace fun your family used to stop. And I will do a little flyover once I do my journaling and tuck it in there so that you can see my journaling card. I'm trying very hard to continue to post at least 2 videos a week. I'll be interested to see how easily they can still do that with going back to work. I'm still very interested in making a gratitude journal, and so I may, if I can get that done, I think that'll be an easy way for me to continue to share some journaling with you during the week that maybe doesn't take quite as much time as memory keeping. But in any case, I'm back to my day job on a full-time basis, and so I still want to dedicate the time to do memory keeping and gratitude journaling and just having fun in creating, because it's so important to my life. And even working, or maybe even more when I'm working, I need the stress relief, but I don't want getting this done to be stressful. I want that positive of the journaling to be a motivator for me to keep up with it. I don't feel pressured by anyone to like post a certain amount, but I just want to be consistent. And so that's kind of my goal, is that twice a week. And I was doing every Tuesday and Thursday, which was very easy over summer while I was off. But I've gotten a little more inconsistent as to what day I'm posting, but I'm still trying to post twice a week. So thanks so much, and I appreciate your comments and you sharing your stories with me. It means a lot to me, and watching and subscribing are just ways that you can help me out, and commenting is just very special. And so I thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.